It's Palm Sunday. Woo-hoo! What does Palm Sunday mean? Why is it called Palm Sunday? Is it because of a palm tree? Not really. It's more like palm branches. Let me explain. So, next week you got Easter. This week, Palm Sunday. They're both Sundays. Easter's on a Sunday, Palm Sunday's on a Sunday. Palm Sundays always is the Sunday before Easter. Okay? Reason why it's called Palm Sunday is because a week before what we celebrate as Easter, we had a story called the Triumphal Entry. And it's found in the New Testament in all four Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, the beginning of the New Testament. All four of those books tell us the story of Jesus, and in all four books, we have the story of the Triumphal Entry. Why am I holding a palm branch, you ask? Because in the Triumphal Entry, you've got Jesus riding on a donkey. He's coming from the Mount of Olives. He's going to Jerusalem, and there's this crowd of people, and they put down branches and their clothes, like cloaks. Don't worry, they were still dressed. Put down their cloaks, basically to form a red carpet for Jesus to come in, and they're all screaming, "Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord." And it's this huge moment because Jesus is a king and he's coming in, and that is why we call it Palm Sunday, simply because of the palm branches that were laid on the ground.
So, why is this important? Like, why is this happening? So, Jesus, we all know him as like the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, but most of his life he didn't live that way. For 30 years, he hadn't even started his ministry yet. So the last 3 years of his life is when he actually started his ministry and was well known in the community. So really this last week of his life that's super important. It's him making this big debut. He's going public and he's proclaiming himself as king, which is part of the reason why he eventually gets killed. So I think of this kind of like in the Harry Potter books and the Harry Potter movies, how Harry, like everyone knows of him as this great wizard, but when you read the books or watch the movies, it's taking you through this story where he's treated terribly throughout most of his life. It's not until much later on in history telling the story back about his life that he's really known that way. And Jesus is kind of like that. A large part of his life we don't even know about from the gospel stories. But this is a very crucial part because he's coming out and saying, yes, I am the King of Kings, and that is part of what leads to his death a week later.
Important fact. Here's a cool thing. So, the week between Palm Sunday and Easter is called Passion Week. This week is also known as the last week that we have of Jesus' life here on earth. So, last week of his life on earth, super important for a lot of reasons. One, it's Jesus, and it's his last week on earth. But also, so we've got the four Gospels. I mentioned those earlier. Of those four Gospels, there are 85 chapters in all four of the Gospels combined. Okay? Track with me? 85. Of those 85, 29 of the chapters are about the last week of Jesus' life. 29 of the 85. So clearly this week is really important. So this triumphal entry with Jesus coming in on a donkey is crucial. It's this huge moment because it's entering us in, as he enters into the city of Jerusalem, it's entering us in to the last week of his life that he is 100% human on this earth.
So I'm going to be reading out of Matthew. Like Lauren said, this is in all four Gospels, but Matthew's account, I'll briefly talk about the triumphal entry. So this is Matthew 21, verse 7. They brought the donkey and the colt and put on them their cloaks, and he sat on them. Most of the crowd spread their cloaks on the road, and others cut branches from the trees and spread them on the road. And the crowds that went before him and that followed him were shouting, "Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest." And when he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred up, saying, "Who is this?" And the crowd said, "This is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth of Galilee."
There's some really important things about these elements that are in the story. Number one, the donkey. You might think, donkey, what's so cool about a donkey? To which I would be like, fair point, except that this donkey has never been ridden before. This is all new for this donkey. And also this is all new, as Brian was talking about earlier, all new for Jesus to be treated like a king. We're talking about a guy that was born in a barn, but he's getting treated like a king right now. This donkey, not a riding donkey, hasn't been ridden before, being ridden right now. A newness. Also, the branches, palm branches. So these resemble peace, while also they resemble winning and victory. So actually, if you look at a palm branch, these are like, it's really, really strong. And this is used to crown winners, even like ancient Greek, like first Olympic type stuff. Like maybe you've heard of like a crown of laurel and whatnot. And like you could make really cool leis or like headwear or something out of this. But this is supposed to represent like winning, victorious, and peace. When you think about a palm tree, not just because of a beach, they're peaceful trees. You see them more here in the Bay Area, but especially if you weren't in an area where they're around, they represent a lot of peace. People love palm trees. It's like it's just a sign of peace. Also, the cloaks. So we have the cloaks being laid down. Some of you might have heard of like old-timey chivalrous days. There would maybe be a guy, if he was on a date, maybe he put his coat down so then his date doesn't have to like get her shoes wet and she can walk over the puddle like on his coat, which is like really excessive. But the point is, this isn't a bunch of people who have like 10 suits in their closet and they're just putting one down. This is more of the lowly crew, right? So when they're putting their clothes down, it's a sign of humility. It's a sign of servant saying, he's ahead of us. It's a sign of submission. We're putting ourselves down for you. For some of them, when they were putting their cloaks down with these branches to honor the way for Jesus to come, that might have been their only clothing item. But yeah, the sign of submission saying, I want to serve you, and I'm excited that you're here. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord.
So every Sunday at 11:30 we have our Zoom class. We hope to see you there. I wanted to give you guys some things to think about in preparation for that before we discuss it further. So in this story we have Jesus entering the city. There's this big procession, this big parade with everything that Lauren talked about with the cloaks and the branches and everything. So I want you to be thinking about when Jesus entered your life. So maybe the first time you really encountered him, maybe it's the time that you got baptized, just like a specific encounter that you have with him, a good memory of when Jesus entered your life. And then also be thinking about the day-to-day. How does Jesus entering the picture change what your life looks like? So there's some things to be thinking about. We do have some announcements. So we're changing up. Instead of doing the daily Devo every day, we're going to be doing those on Monday at 4. So we're going to be doing that once a week, and we have some other things for the other days. And all this information is in the email as well. So on Tuesday, we're going to have a middle school meetup at 4 p.m. on Zoom. So all the middle schoolers can come and hang out, see how you guys are doing. We'll be doing the same thing for the high schoolers on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to have a game day. So that's going to be a different game that we send out each week to kind of get our competitive juices flowing, even though it's hard to do that right now. On Friday, we'll send out this class. On Saturday, we encourage you to practice Sabbath, especially from social media and our devices. And then on Sunday, of course, we have our class and then the online worship service for Big Church as well.
If you're watching this, you're supposed to zoom in for the Zoom class. But this Sunday, we're going to celebrate Palm Sunday by dressing in your Islander wear. So get out your Hawaiian shirts, get out your leis, because we're going to celebrate Palm Sunday the right way.